the sky was burning. Bright orange and red flames spread across the human colony on the planet Artemis 7. Explosions shook the ground, throwing debris into the air. People screamed and ran in every direction. The sound of ships firing echoed through the valley, and the smell of smoke filled everything. Amid the chaos, a small human child, Lyra, was trapped under a fallen beam in her family's home. Dust covered her face, and her small hands clawed at the rubble. Her parents were nowhere in sight, and fear gripped her chest. She tried to cry, but the smoke made her cough and choke. Outside, the enemy ships circled, firing bright beams that tore through buildings. The colonists had no time to rescue anyone left behind. The humans had always thought dragons were myths, stories from old legends, but tonight, the impossible was about to happen. A shadow passed over the burning colony. Lyra looked up through the smoke, her wide eyes reflecting the fiery sky. A massive shape descended, wings beating with incredible speed. Flames reflected off its scales, which shimmered like molten metal. The creature landed with a ground-shaking thud, sending smoke and debris swirling. It was a dragon. The dragon's golden eyes scanned the destruction. Its nostrils flared as it smelled the human scent. Slowly, it approached the ruined home. Lyra's heart raced, unsure if the creature was friend or foe. She backed against the beam, terrified. But the dragon lowered its massive head, its eyes softening when they met hers. Its deep, rumbling growl was not threatening. Instead, it seemed to say, "I am here to help." With surprising gentleness, the dragon lifted the beam off her using its strong claws. Lyra scrambled free, coughing and crying, but safe. The dragon nudged her gently with its snout, as if encouraging her to climb onto its back. She hesitated. Flames licked the edges of the house, and another explosion threw the ground beneath her into the air. Without thinking, she leapt onto the dragon's back. Its scales were warm, almost comforting, and its wings folded around her like a shield. The dragon roared, a sound so loud it shook the enemy ships in the sky. With a powerful push of its wings, it lifted off the ground. Lyra clung tightly as the colony disappeared beneath them. Flames and smoke blurred the view, and she saw people fleeing, leaving everything behind. She realized that her life had been saved by this creature. But the danger was not over. Enemy ships noticed the dragon and child and fired at them. Bright lasers streaked past, narrowly missing them. The dragon twisted in the air, its wings beating with incredible strength. It dove and twisted, avoiding every attack. Its speed and power were unmatched, and Lyra felt a mixture of awe and terror. As they flew further from the planet, the dragon's scales shimmered with colors from the burning colony below. Lyra held on tightly, her fear slowly turning into wonder. She had never imagined a creature like this existed. Its massive eyes looked back at her occasionally, as if checking that she was still safe. The dragon's fire erupted into the air, not to harm her, but to block any pursuers. The smell of sulfur filled her nose, and the roar of the dragon mixed with the sounds of distant explosions, creating a strange symphony of survival. Hours passed as they flew through the dark sky. The colony was behind them, a small, fiery dot on the horizon. Lyra began to feel the exhaustion of the day. She had seen death, destruction, and now a miracle. The dragon finally slowed, landing on a quiet cliff on a small moon that orbited Artemis 7. The surface was rocky, but safe. Lyra slid off its back, her legs weak, her arms trembling. The dragon lowered its head, allowing her to touch its snout. The warmth radiating from it made her feel safe for the first time since the attack began. She looked at the dragon and whispered, "Thank you." The dragon made a low, rumbling sound, almost like a purr. It was a sound full of understanding, as if it knew the words even though it could not speak. Lyra felt a strange connection, a bond forming between them that went beyond fear or survival. She did not know why the dragon had come for her, but she knew one thing: she owed her life to it. Night fell over the moon. Stars sparkled above, indifferent to the chaos on Artemis 7. The dragon curled around her, protective and strong, like a living fortress. Lyra sat in the soft glow of its scales, feeling a strange peace for the first time in her life. She realized that she was no longer just a human child. She was now part of something greater, something powerful. Somewhere in the galaxy, plans were being made by those who destroyed her colony. They would never know that a single act of courage, by a creature they considered a myth, had saved a human life that could change everything. The night was quiet except for the dragon's low breaths and the faint hiss of its wings settling. Lyra felt her eyes grow heavy. Tomorrow, she thought, would be the beginning of something new. She did not know what the future held, but she trusted the dragon completely. And the dragon, in its own way, seemed to understand that this small human child would be more important than anyone could imagine. Above them, the stars shone brightly, and for the first time in the galaxy that night, hope glimmered amidst the flames. Years passed, and Lyra grew up far from the human colonies she once knew. She lived on a hidden asteroid with Zirin and other dragons. The asteroid was surrounded by clouds of glowing gas, and no human ship had ever found it. Lyra's small hands had grown strong from climbing and flying with the dragons. Her hair, once bright and short, now flowed behind her like fire when she ran. She learned to move as the dragons did, silently, quickly, and with awareness of every sound and shadow. Zirin taught her to fly on his back. At first, she was scared. The wind whipped past her face, and the stars seemed impossibly far below. But Zirin's strong wings carried her safely, and soon she felt the thrill of soaring higher than any human could dream. She learned how to read the clouds and the wind, how to judge speed, and how to trust a creature far larger and more powerful than herself. The dragon's scales glimmered in the asteroid's strange light, showing colors no human artist could ever capture. Lyra learned to hunt alongside the dragons. They taught her patience, how to wait for the perfect moment, how to move without sound. Her small size was an advantage. She could slip between rocks, hide in shadows, and signal the dragons when prey was near. Zirin often watched her with pride, his golden eyes softening whenever she succeeded. Sometimes, Lyra felt that the dragons could understand her thoughts. She had no need for words, a glance or a gesture was enough. Other dragons came to respect her. One, a young but fierce female named Kylara, became a close friend. They raced through the glowing clouds surrounding the asteroid, diving and twisting in the air. Lyra laughed freely, a sound that reminded Zirin of human life, full of warmth and hope. Nights were spent under the glittering sky, lying on dragon scales that were surprisingly soft. Lyra would watch the stars and wonder what humans were doing far away, what had become of the world she had once known. Despite her strange, isolated life, Lyra retained her human mind. She was clever, observant, and curious. She experimented with fire, learning to create controlled bursts with dragons nearby, and she studied the asteroid's crystals, discovering ways to make small lights that glowed for hours. The dragons called her fire-touched, for her mind combined the human ability to think ahead with the dragon's instinct and strength. Zirin often warned her that one day the galaxy might need her, though he did not explain why. One day, while exploring the edges of the asteroid, Lyra noticed strange lights blinking in the distance. Human ships. Her heart raced. She had thought humans might have forgotten her. She wondered if they would even recognize her after so many years. Zirin sensed her fear and placed a clawed foot gently on her shoulder. The dragon's instincts warned them that the ships were not friendly. Lyra knew this was the first time humans might meet dragons in centuries, and she felt a mixture of excitement and worry. She decided to watch them from a hidden ridge. The ships were large, carrying weapons far more advanced than anything she had seen. The humans on board looked small and weak compared to her dragon companions. But Lyra also noticed something else. They were organized, clever, and determined. She realized that humans were not naturally strong like dragons, but they were adaptable, able to use their minds to survive even the worst dangers. Lyra felt a flicker of pride. Her species had something dragons did not, ingenuity. Zirin approached and nuzzled her gently. Lyra told him about the ships. He growled low in warning, his tail flicking. Humans, he rumbled. They do not know what waits for them here. Lyra nodded, understanding that the dragon's power combined with her own knowledge could create something no enemy expected. She was no longer a frightened child trapped in fire. She was a guide, a bridge between humans and dragons. Lyra also learned about dragon society. Dragons were not mindless beasts. They had memory, wisdom, and loyalty that lasted centuries. Some of the older dragons remembered ancient wars and had fought in battles Lyra could barely imagine. Zirin, though young compared to them, carried the spirit of a protector. Lyra listened to stories at night, absorbing lessons about courage, trust, and strategy. Each story seemed to teach her something about surviving in a galaxy that might one day threaten them. But growing up among dragons was not always peaceful. Occasionally, rival creatures from nearby asteroids or space predators attacked. Lyra fought alongside them, sometimes running at the front, her heart pounding as she directed dragons to block attacks or defend the young. Every time, she learned more about leadership, about seeing danger before it came, and about trusting her instincts as much as the dragon's power. One quiet night, Lyra climbed to the highest cliff of the asteroid and looked at the stars. She felt small again, but differently this time. She was no longer helpless. She had learned strength, courage, and understanding from her dragon family. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was moving forward, unaware that a human child had survived a destroyed colony, grown strong, and now possessed knowledge and power that could change everything. Lyra rested her head against Zirin's warm scales. "One day," she whispered, "we will show them what humans and dragons can do together." Zirin's eyes glowed softly, as if agreeing. The bond between them was unbreakable, forged in fire, flight, and trust. She was no longer just Lyra, the human child. She was Lyra, the fire-touched, raised among dragons, ready for a future no one could predict. And high above, among the stars that no human had yet reached, hope grew quietly, like a spark waiting to become a flame. Lyra had grown tall and strong, her mind sharp and her body agile from years among dragons. She had mastered flight, hunting, and strategy. But for months, a thought had been growing inside her like a quiet fire. The humans she had once known were still out there, and they were in danger. The galaxy had changed. Empires had risen, and conflicts spread across stars. She could no longer stay hidden on the asteroid. She had to return. Zirin watched her carefully as she packed small bundles of supplies, dried food, simple tools, and crystals that glowed in the dark. "Are you certain?" he rumbled. His massive claws pressed against the ground, shaking it slightly. "The humans may not recognize you. They may fear us. The galaxy has grown stronger, more dangerous." "I know," Lyra said, her voice calm but determined. "But we cannot wait. They need dragons, and they need me. If we act now, we can help them survive." Zirin lowered his massive head, understanding her resolve. With a flap of his wings, they lifted off the asteroid, leaving behind the hidden sanctuary she had called home for so many years. The journey through space was breathtaking. Stars stretched endlessly around them, nebulae glowing in colors no human could imagine, and distant planets rotating like jewels. Lyra clung to Zirin, feeling both fear and exhilaration. She had seen these wonders before, but now she was returning with a purpose. She was not just exploring, she was going to change the galaxy. After weeks of travel, they reached the outer rim of human-controlled space. Lyra spotted a city planet, Virilia, bustling with activity. Ships flew from docking bays, people rushed through streets, and the hum of engines filled the air. Humans were everywhere, living their small, fragile lives, unaware of the dangers lurking in the galaxy, or of the dragons waiting to protect them. As Zirin descended toward the city outskirts, Lyra felt her pulse quicken. People on the streets screamed and scattered at the sight of the dragon. Guards raised weapons, ready to attack. Lyra stepped forward, raising her hands. "Stop! I come in peace," she shouted. Her voice carried strangely over the noise of panic. Some humans froze, staring in disbelief. Others ran. A group of soldiers advanced cautiously. Lyra explained that she was human, that she had survived the destroyed colony on Artemis 7, and that the dragons were allies, not enemies. The soldiers hesitated, exchanging glances. A few brave ones stepped forward, but many still kept their weapons raised. Zirin lowered his wings and made no move to attack. His golden eyes locked on Lyra, showing complete trust. Slowly, tension eased. News spread quickly through Virilia. A human child, now a young woman raised among dragons, had returned. People came to see her and the dragons. Many were amazed, some were afraid. Dragons were supposed to be myths, dangerous beasts that had vanished centuries ago. Seeing them alive, intelligent, and powerful shocked everyone. Lyra began teaching humans what she had learned from dragons. She showed them how to move silently, how to observe before acting, and how to think like hunters and strategists. Humans practiced with small groups of dragons, learning coordination, timing, and trust. Lyra's lessons were simple but effective. Humans were clever, but dragons were strong. Together, they could do more than either could alone. But not everyone welcomed them. Spies from the growing galactic empire reported the dragon's presence. Lyra sensed that danger was coming. The empire would not tolerate humans and dragons uniting, not when such a combination could challenge their power. She warned the humans, teaching them to fortify defenses, make traps, and prepare for attacks. Humans listened, eager to learn, though some doubted their ability to survive. Lyra also taught the humans about hope. She reminded them that humans were small, but their minds were quick, and their creativity was powerful. She showed them how dragon's fire could be combined with human technology in ways the Empire would never predict. Slowly, fear began to turn into courage. The city learned to trust her guidance and the dragon's strength. One evening, as the twin suns set over Virilia, Lyra climbed onto Zirin's back. "We are ready," she said softly. Zirin's wings stretched wide, catching the last light. Lyra looked down at the city, thinking about the people who had once left her behind, and about the galaxy that had forgotten her. Now she was back, stronger than ever, and ready to protect them. From above, Lyra saw the first signs of the Empire's scouts approaching. Their ships were sleek, armed with deadly weapons, and they moved with precision. The humans on the planet looked up, unsure what to do. Lyra felt her heart tighten, but she also felt confidence. Humans and dragons, together, could face anything. She had learned the dragon's strength and her own courage. Now it was time to teach humans the same lessons. Zirin roared, a sound that shook the air and warned all who listened that the dragons were ready. Lyra held on tightly, her eyes focused on the approaching threat. The city below was small, fragile, and unprepared for the attack, but the humans trusted her. Together with the dragons, they could turn fear into power. As night fell and stars twinkled above, Lyra whispered, "The galaxy does not know what is coming. But we do." Zirin flapped his wings, sending a gust of wind across the city. The humans stared in awe, some still frightened, but many inspired. The return of the dragons, and of Lyra, marked a turning point. Something new was beginning, something the galaxy had never seen before. Above Virilia, dragons circled in the night sky. Lyra felt a strange calm mixed with anticipation. She knew the coming days would be dangerous. Battles would come, choices would be hard, and the Empire would strike with full force. But for the first time, humans and dragons were united. The child saved years ago by Zirin was now a young leader, ready to guide both species toward survival and victory. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Empire's spies recorded the unusual alliance, unaware that they were about to face a force they could never imagine. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the stars. The return of humans and dragons was only the beginning, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to happen. The morning sky over Virilia was calm, but Lyra felt tension in the air. Scouts from the Galactic Empire had been spotted near the outer system, and their fleet was larger than anyone expected. Humans looked up nervously from the city streets, their eyes wide as dragons circled above, their wings casting massive shadows over buildings. Lyra stood on Zirin's back, surveying the scene. Her long hair blew in the wind, and her heart beat steadily. She had prepared humans for this, but even she knew that the enemy would not come quietly. The Empire attacked first with speed. Their ships flew in perfect formations, firing beams and missiles toward Virilia. Humans panicked at first, unsure how to respond. But Lyra had trained them well. She had taught them to observe before acting, to use the terrain, and to trust the dragons. Humans and dragons moved as one. Humans set traps in the streets and alleys, and dragons soared high to block enemy fire with bursts of flame. Zirin led the first charge, diving down toward the enemy ships. His fire burned like molten metal, forcing the Empire's scouts to scatter. Lyra shouted commands to the humans below, and they reacted quickly. They used simple weapons in clever ways, directing small attacks that distracted the Empire's fleet. Humans were weaker than dragons, but Lyra's lessons had taught them to use their minds. The combination was deadly. The Empire had expected an easy victory. They had counted on humans being weak and uncoordinated. They did not know that humans had learned strategy from dragons and courage from Lyra. Each time a human trap activated, a ship was damaged or destroyed. Each time a dragon's flame erupted, enemy formation broke apart. Lyra moved between humans and dragons, guiding both with calm precision. Her voice was steady, even as explosions shook the streets. Some humans were terrified. They had never fought a war before, let alone alongside dragons. But when they saw Lyra on Zirin, fearless, giving orders and leading attacks, their fear turned into determination. Small squads of humans used slings, nets, and traps to confuse the enemy. They used buildings as cover, directing enemy fire away from civilians. Dragons protected the weak, circling and breathing fire in perfect timing with human maneuvers. A massive Imperial cruiser approached the city center, more powerful than any ship Lyra had ever seen. Its weapons glowed red, and it moved like a predator ready to destroy everything. Humans froze for a moment, but Lyra did not hesitate. She signaled Zirin, and the dragon dove toward the cruiser, drawing its fire. Other dragons followed, creating a storm of flame and movement. Humans took the opportunity to strike weak points in the cruiser's armor with clever attacks that the Empire never expected. Chaos filled the city streets. Explosions, fire, and smoke covered the battle, but Lyra kept her focus. She moved like a conductor, orchestrating humans and dragons together. The Empire's fleet began to falter, surprised by the strength of the alliance. Humans were small and fragile, but they were smart, and dragons made them unstoppable. Zirin roared, a sound that shook even the largest ships. Lyra shouted commands over the roar, guiding humans to focus, to aim, and to trust their instincts. The Empire tried a new tactic, sending a fast squad of ships to cut off human escape routes. But Lyra had predicted this. She sent dragons diving between the ships, using their fire and bodies to block attacks. Humans set clever traps using explosives hidden in the streets, knocking out the squad before they could reach the city. Lyra's eyes shone with excitement. Humans were learning quickly, adapting in ways the Empire had not imagined. One young human, a boy named Terran, had learned to signal dragons with simple lights. He directed Kylara, a young dragon, to dive at an enemy ship, causing it to crash into another. Lyra watched, proud. Humans were no longer weak, they were clever, brave, and united with dragons. The Empire's fleet was beginning to retreat, shaken by the unexpected resistance. But the battle was not over. The Empire had a secret weapon, a massive ship capable of firing destruction across kilometers. Lyra saw it approaching and realized that this was the real test. She gathered all humans and dragons, explaining a plan. Humans would distract the weapon with clever traps, while dragons attacked from the sides. Zirin and Kylara led the strike, weaving through enemy fire with precision. Humans fired at weak points, working as one unit. The weapon's energy faltered under the unexpected combination of fire, strategy, and courage. The Empire's commanders were furious. They had underestimated humans, thinking them weak and predictable. They did not expect humans to learn, adapt, and lead. They did not expect dragons to be allies rather than tools. Slowly, their fleet began to break apart, each ship falling to the coordinated attacks of humans and dragons. The city below watched in awe, cheering as enemy ships exploded in brilliant flashes. After hours of fighting, the Empire finally retreated. Humans and dragons stood together, exhausted but victorious. Smoke rose from the streets, but the city was alive. Lyra stood on Zirin's back, looking over the humans she had taught. She smiled faintly, proud of what they had accomplished. Humans were not just survivors, they were fighters, clever and brave when guided properly. Zirin lowered his head to nuzzle her gently. "They are strong," he rumbled. "Stronger than I imagined." Lyra nodded. "Not just strong. They can think, plan, and act. They are what the Empire never expected." The humans cheered, some running to touch dragons, others hugging each other. For the first time, they understood the power of trust, courage, and unity. As night fell over Virelia, the stars reflected off dragon scales, and lights flickered in the city. Lyra knew the Empire would return. They would not forget this day. But humans had learned something crucial. When they acted together with dragons, they were capable of extraordinary things. Fear no longer ruled them. They had hope, courage, and power, enough to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them. Above the city, dragons circled silently, their eyes glowing, watching for any sign of return. Lyra rested her hand on Zirin's scales and whispered, "They will never underestimate humans again." The dragon rumbled softly in agreement. Together, they had shown the galaxy that humans and dragons, united, could be unstoppable. And somewhere far away, the Empire's commanders watched the reports in disbelief. They had counted on humans being weak, predictable, and fearful. They had been wrong. The galaxy had never seen a day like this. The Empire's fleet, once thought unstoppable, now lay broken and retreating across the stars. Lyra stood on Zirin's back, looking over the battlefield from above Virelia. Smoke and fire still rose from the city streets, but the humans were alive, stronger and braver than she had ever imagined. Dragons circled above, their wings casting long shadows across the ground, their golden eyes alert for any sign of return. The Empire's secret weapon, the massive ship that could have destroyed the city, had been neutralized. Lyra had guided the humans and dragons in perfect coordination. Humans had used clever traps, explosives, and misdirection, while dragons attacked from above, blocking weapons and causing chaos. The Empire had underestimated the smallest species in the galaxy, and now they had paid the price. Lyra slid from Zirin's back and walked through the streets. Humans stared in awe at the dragons, some reaching out to touch scales, others standing frozen, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Children laughed nervously, pointing at dragons who nudged them gently with their noses. Adults whispered in disbelief, realizing that humans, tiny and fragile, could accomplish what the Empire had thought impossible. The aftermath was quiet but tense. Many buildings were damaged, and fires burned in places, but people were alive. Lyra moved among them, offering guidance and reassurance. You fought well, she told them simply. But the fight is not over. The Empire will return if they can. Remember what you have learned: courage, trust, and cleverness can defeat even the strongest enemy. Zirin lowered his head to the humans, who hesitated before stepping closer. Lyra placed a hand on his warm scales. They need to see that dragons are allies, not monsters, she said. Slowly, humans began to approach, learning to trust the creatures who had once seemed terrifying. Dragons, in turn, showed patience, nudging the humans gently, allowing them to feel the bond that Lyra had nurtured for years. Far away, the remnants of the Empire regrouped. Their commanders were furious, unable to comprehend how a small species, long thought weak, had turned the tide of battle. Reports poured in, describing dragons as intelligent, coordinated, and dangerous allies to humans. Plans were made, but no strategy seemed capable of defeating the united humans and dragons. The Empire had learned, too late, that power alone could not win a war. The minds and hearts of the small species were stronger than they had imagined. Lyra called a meeting with the humans and dragons. She stood on a raised platform, looking at faces both frightened and proud. You have all learned something important today, she said. Humans are clever, dragons are strong, but together, we are unstoppable. We will not just survive, we will protect each other and the galaxy. Her voice carried clearly, and the humans nodded, some with tears, others with smiles of pride. Dragons circled above, their wings beating slowly, calm but alert. In the following days, humans began to rebuild. They worked alongside dragons, who helped move heavy debris, rebuild structures, and provide protection. Lyra taught them further, showing how humans could innovate while dragons defended them. She taught children to move with awareness, to trust their instincts, and to respect the dragons as partners. Every human learned that courage, cleverness, and teamwork could create power far greater than strength alone. News of the victory spread across nearby star systems. Humans who had been thought weak became heroes. Traders, travelers, and spies carried tales of dragons fighting alongside humans, of a young woman who had grown among dragons and led her people to victory. The galaxy began to rethink everything it believed about humans. They were no longer weak, no longer insignificant. They were clever, brave, and capable of extraordinary things. Lyra stood once more on Zirin's back, looking at the stars that stretched endlessly above. She thought of the night Zirin had saved her as a child, carrying her away from fire and death. She had been small, helpless, and scared. Now she was strong, guiding humans and dragons, shaping the future of the galaxy. She realized that saving one human child had changed everything, not just for her, but for countless lives across the stars. Zirin nuzzled her gently. You have done well, he rumbled. The galaxy will remember this day. Lyra smiled faintly. Not me, she said. The humans. And the dragons. Together, we taught the galaxy something it could not have learned any other way. She looked down at the humans, who were laughing and rebuilding, some riding dragons for the first time, others sharing stories of the battle. Life was returning, stronger and brighter than before. Even the Empire had learned a lesson. Power alone could not conquer courage and cleverness. Their spies reported the resilience of humans, the intelligence of dragons, and the bond between them. The galaxy, once confident in its strongest empires, had been humbled by a species it had underestimated. Lyra knew this lesson would last, and perhaps it would prevent future wars, or at least make them think twice before attacking again. As night fell, the city glowed with the soft light of lanterns and dragon fire. Lyra sat on Zirin's back, feeling the warmth of his scales. We did it, she whispered. We really did it. The dragons circled above, protective and proud, and humans below looked up with admiration and gratitude. Together, they had shown the galaxy the power of unity, courage, and intelligence. In the quiet of the night, Lyra realized the truth. Saving her life years ago had not just been an act of kindness, it had been the beginning of a chain reaction that changed the fate of the galaxy. One human child, saved by a dragon, had grown into a leader capable of teaching humans to be brave, clever, and unstoppable. And the dragons, loyal and powerful, had given the humans a chance no one else could. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night. Hope, courage, and unity had won. The galaxy had paid the price for underestimating humans. Lyra looked out into the darkness, her mind clear and her heart steady. The future was uncertain, but one thing was certain: humans and dragons, together, could face anything. And high above, Zirin roared softly, a sound of triumph and protection. Lyra held on, smiling. Together, they had changed the galaxy forever. The story of a dragon saving one human child had become a legend, a tale that would be remembered wherever stars shone.